Ready, go.
Do you remember that kid I was talking about last time when he broke a whole bunch of stuff? Well, as time goes on, we get very, very close. I spend a lot of time with him. I spend more time with him probably than my own family, just because it's my work full time. It's a lot of hours. A month or two ago, a little guy said something that really changed me, like directly in that moment. It was hard to even wrap my mind around how that happens. We were sitting down at the dinner table. We work in a house environment. We were just having small talk, I was happy that we had a good day at the house. I wasn't really focused on ministering to him or like speaking truth. I was just kind of exhausted, just having small talk, enjoying the fact that everyone's about to go to sleep, feeling a little bit victorious. And he really changed me in this moment. He began to tell me that earlier in the day, he was talking to one of the other kids, and he told him, "Man, wouldn't Jared be such a good dad?" And he told that to me. Now, I don't know if you understand how amazing that is for someone at a group home who's been severely abused directly by their parents, physically, since 5 or 6 years. For someone to be able to wrap their mind around someone being their dad, and for him to be able to say that to me is really hard to understand. So that's why it changed me. I was challenged in myself. I was challenged to think of myself as a father figure. You work with people, you hope you're changing their life, you want to be Jesus to them, but you don't know all the time. So him saying, "I think of you as a dad," it really helped me respect myself more in that setting. And two, I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed that kid. These are my favorite moments from work, but I also have very mixed emotions about them. Because one, I love them. Obviously, it's an amazing moment for anybody to experience. But two, my heart is heavy because I look around and I don't have my brothers and sisters in Christ with me to experience this deep joy. Now at my work, there's no real sense of unified Christians that are there to love the crap out of these kids. That's just not what it is. And I ask myself why. Why isn't the church body fighting? I always think in my head that there should be a long, year or two long waiting list of people that are Jesus people waiting to work at places like this. Now, not to get too specific, I'm not saying you're a good or bad person whether or not you work at a group home. I'm not saying that at all. For a long time I didn't. What I'm saying is this experience is a small window into a bigger view of an issue that is affecting our church today. So my experience is a small window through which we can see a bigger picture taking place. Why does our culture as a church body as a whole, I include myself in it even though I'm serving people, not include being there for people who are constantly in need, like at group homes, at rehabs? My wife works at a rehab and she's one of the only Christians there. She thinks about these same things. Luckily for us, the book of James meets us in this very place. James, the writer of the book of James, talks about a lot of specific issues. Some of them applicable to us, some not. But then he also talks about the big picture that can give some kind of clarity to how we're looking through my window, my experience. James talks about what we see out here going on in the movement of the church. So first of all, James is written to the 12 tribes of the dispersion, quote unquote. So we have to be careful in how we read James. We can't take everything literally to be applied all to ourselves. He talks about a lot of specific things that were specific issues with who he's writing to. He talks about kicking sin out of your life, which is good. Be a doer of the word and not hearers only. Treating people the same, no matter the rich or poor. It obviously says the very famous verse about faith without works being dead. Warning that our tongues are set on fire by hell. The effects of jealousy and selfish ambition, and being judgmental. So there's a lot of specific issues that I don't want to focus on. I just want to explain why some of it's may or may not be applicable, but one part definitely is applicable to all Christians today. The part that speaks directly to Christians is chapter 1, verse 27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. And I think this is applicable to us directly because the phrase pure religion. Obviously, that's not applicable to just people back then. We all want to have a very real and authentic way of following God. A biblical scholar, James L. Boyce, wrote an article for a magazine that says, the reference to orphans and widows here is surely both symbolic and particular. James here is not calling on us to limit or draw borders of exclusion in our service. His words surely intend to suggest all those that by their need invite our concern and care. I don't think James 1:27 is drop out of your church service for us. I don't think that's how we interpret it. It's not saying ignore your family and friends because they have family and friends and go work at a group home, go work with widows, whatever that would look like. I think it's a reference to people who are constantly in need, desperately in need, like those at a rehab. Obviously, they're going through very turbulent times for them. Especially people at a group home, whether you give your prayers, any kind of support, we got to do it together. Not everyone can work there. It doesn't make sense for everybody. Just not all the jobs make sense for pay and for what it is, but we need everyone's support. And the reason I think James 1:27 meets us here is I look around and we have a youth ministry program at Simpson. But how ironic is that? It's ironic that I've been working at a group home with the most severely hurting kids in an aspect. I respect people of all walks of life. I'm not saying they matter, no one else does, but why is it in 3 years I've worked at a group home and gave my time week after week, been slaving away, giving all of myself, getting burnt out almost every week, but still pressing on? And why do I look around and I've seen no one from that youth ministry program there? Which may or may not be okay. I'm not trying to judge, I'm just reflecting back on the fact that taking care of these people isn't our priority. Why is it in our youth ministry program our focus isn't how to help these kids? At the very least, we can talk about awareness and sharing and talking about, hey, you can pray for them? That's great. That's all you can really do? That's great. Like, we gotta be a team. Why are we not working as a team to love these kids? Why do non-believers care more about these people than we do? Now, what I'm not saying is that the church around here is failing because we aren't filled with Christians. I'm just saying that as a whole, as a general direction and general attitude and what we genuinely care about and make a priority as a family, as a team, we don't care enough about people in incredibly desperate situations. We're headed down the right directions. We help a lot of people. We have Celebrate Recovery programs in plenty of churches. I know Bethel helps a lot of homeless needs and stuff, but as a whole, we're missing the mark. Now, the second part of that is pure religion looks like being unstained from the world. And I'm not going to focus on that part, but it does mean not living in sin. In James, we talked about how James defines that. Jesus defines it in Matthew 5 as being down to our thoughts and attitudes. And so pure religion is looking after these people and not living in sin. So we've defined a pure religion. Good job. We can all pat ourselves on the back. We see the goal. But the writer of James doesn't just give us a lofty goal. He tells us specifically how to follow that and walk in pure religion where we all want to be. Chapter 4, verses 8 through 10 explain that mourning and humbling ourselves before God is our turning point. It's our call to live out pure religion. Verses 8 through 10. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be wretched and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned into mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. I can only speak for the churches in this area that I've seen and heard of and been a part of in Simpson, but I think it's the Church of Redding, California's time to mourn over where we're headed as a family. Much like the 12 tribes of the dispersion that James spoke to for some of the same reasons and some of the not same reasons, we're turning religion into something it's not supposed to be. People suffering in poverty are not our priority. People suffering in poverty are not our priority. I want to leave you with these couple questions. Will we be transformed by the power of redirection and mourning? Or will we, as a family, continue in our less than pure religion, overall ignoring the needs of people in desperate places? There's only two choices. Only time will tell which ones we follow.